Since independence, India has made enormous strides towards the progress of its people. Government are trying to change the economical, social and psychological scenario of the country by their concerted and coordinated efforts. Economic change is the process by which a nation improves economical, political and social well-being of the people, and it influences all the aspects of human life. India has some major socio-economic priorities like no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, gender equality and industry, innovation and infrastructure. If these are attained, it aids to improve the economical, political and social wellness of its people, and the people of country may lead an independent, healthy and better quality of life. Being Atmanirbhar Bharat will lead to more economical, social and psychological welfare of the citizens. The main purpose of Atmanirbhar Bharat is to make the country and its citizens self-reliant in all the senses. With these words, now I feel proud to invite our Dean Academic Affairs, Professor Sharma, for a welcome address.
My humble pranam to all of you. Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir, the Patron-in-Chief of International Seminar and the President of this inaugural function, respected Captain Alok Bansalji, the Chief Guest of this event, esteemed keynote speakers of this international seminar, in inaugural function, Professor Vandana Sharma ji, Professor Balan from Malaysia, the galaxy of keynote speakers from various disciplines, various parts of the country and abroad, guests, dean, directors, agencies and pathways to Atmanirbhar Bharat. This is the cardinal objective of this seminar, to attain Atmanirbhar Bharat, and we are trying to understand the agencies and pathways of this change from psychological, sociological and economic perspectives. I stand here to welcome you all. First of all, in this series, I welcome all the delegates who have registered themselves as the participants of international seminar. I welcome all the keynote speakers, guests, chair, co-chair of the technical sessions. All the key speakers, guests and chairs who have taken this lead to help us in this understanding academic endeavor in this code. Thank you and welcome you all. I also welcome my own colleagues from different departments, from different faculties. I welcome now the Honorable Chief Guest, Captain Alok Bansalji, for this inaugural function, and we are eagerly waiting for his address. Most importantly and lastly, I welcome our Honorable Vice Chancellor, the umbrella person, the head of MDU and President of the inaugural function. At this point, I also register my heartfelt welcome to Madam Sanjeev Kaur for her presence in this inaugural, and her presence will motivate us further to bring social and economic change at the community at large. So, welcome all, and I wish very happy, meaningful, fulfilling seminar for coming 3 days. All the very best.
Thank you, sir, for your welcome address. Now, I would like to request Director of this international seminar and Director Ch.Ranbir Singh Institute for Social and Economic Change, please come on the dais and describe the vision of the Institute and the activities it undertakes to promote social and economic change.
Ch.Ranbir Singh, Chief Guest of the Day, Adolf Bansal, Dean Academic Affairs, Professor Sharma, Convener of the International Seminar, Professor Desraj, and other co-conveners, and distinguished guests of DICE. I have been given a 5-minute slot to just explain about the Ch.Ranbir Singh Institute of Social and Economic Change. Since its inception onward, the Institute is striving hard to maintain the quality in the research, and it has been witnessed by our research scholars since the last couple of days that with the blessing of our Honorable Vice Chancellor, the Institute is able to conduct various activities in terms of capacity building activities, especially the 7-day workshop for our research scholars and faculty. In the last month also we conducted an international seminar with the help of physical sciences. And this international seminar is second in that series. So, not only these activities, we are going beyond all these activities. The focus of the Institute is to provide a platform for social and economic reforms in the society as a whole. The state especially, and the country as a whole. And in that direction, we invite various experts from pan-India, those who are leading in their expertise, so that our faculty and students may be benefited. And in coming years also, we have various activities to perform. So with these words, as a director, I once again welcome you all, and I feel that you will enjoy the activity in its academic deliberations as well as in terms of hospitality. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to request convener of the international seminar, Professor Anjali Malik, please come and enlighten us about the theme of the seminar.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Captain Adolf Bansal, Director, India Foundation, Honorable Chief Guest of the Day, Professor Ch.Ranbir Singh, worthy Vice Chancellor of Maharishi Dayanand University, Rohtak, Dr. Ch.Ranbir Kaur, Chairperson, Bharat Welfare Society for Persons with Speech and Hearing Impairment. Our invited keynote speakers, Professor Vandana Sharma, formerly at Punjabi University, Patiala, Dr. Balan Radhakrishnan, noted scholar from Malaysia, Professor Navratan Sharma, Dean Academic Affairs, Professor Inderji, Director, Ch.Ranbir Singh Institute of Social and Economic Change, Professor Desraj and Professor Deepti Hooda from my own team of conveners of this seminar, various invited dignitaries, heads and professors from various departments, respectable guests, and my very dear students. I, Anjali Malik, with great joy, extend you all a very warm welcome on this morning to the current international seminar on a very relevant contemporary umbrella theme, Psycho-Social Economic Change, Agencies and Pathways to Atmanirbhar Bharat. Academic conferences that bring together multiple disciplines on one platform give the scholars and academicians a chance to explore an issue in all its shades and hues, pros and cons, and the meaningful deliberations lead on to the path forward. This time, the departments of Psychology, Sociology, and Economics of Maharishi Dayanand University have joined hands to discuss and deliberate upon the agencies and pathways of psycho-social economic change that would lead the path to Atmanirbhar Bharat. Indian government has set up a most ambitious and crucial agenda for herself in the 21st century, one of becoming Atmanirbhar. Friends, Atmanirbhar Bharat, that is self-reliant India, is a phrase that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has used in relation to the country's economic development plans, poverty eradication and digitalization programs. It has struck a new chord in the times of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, that is celebration of 75 years of India's independence and the glorious history of its people, culture and achievements. This Mahotsav is dedicated to the people of India who have not only been instrumental in bringing India this far in its evolutionary journey, but they also hold within themselves the power and potential to enable our Prime Minister's vision of activating India 2.0, fueled by the spirit of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Although Swadeshi movement was initiated much before independence and drive to be self-reliant has been a part of our 5-year plans, it has woken up with a new impetus during the times of coronavirus pandemic. The plan for Atmanirbhar Bharat includes a readiness to associate with and challenge the global economy and yet be vocal for local. The idea of Atmanirbhar Bharat will have multifaceted, multiple ramifications and consequences in different fields of individual and social life. While it will provide a much required fillip or impetus to our Indian dream, it will also need a commitment to make this growth story a socially inclusive, psychologically positivizing, economically equitable and ecologically sustainable movement. Presently, with her role of presidency of G20, World's Premium Forum for Global Economic Cooperation, India is going to be guided by a very inclusive philosophy of one earth, one family, one future. We have pitched for a just and sustainable future for all in the world, heal the planet, promote harmony, and plan for a peaceful future for the generations to come. India is today known for being a vibrant democracy, having the largest growing economy, grassroots accessible digital technology and governance, Atmanirbharta, or being self-reliant in industry and space technology. India has stated that without peace and security, our future generations will not be able to take advantage of economic growth and technical innovation. Hence, today's era must not be of war, but of peace. In this post-pandemic world order, India, with its human-centric approach, can offer the world a new psychosocial and economic path forward. Friends, I am reminded of a famous Urdu poetry line. अब नींद से वो जाने चमन जाग, excuse me, अब नींद से वो जाने चमन जाग उठी है. For the benefit of our guests from abroad, I'll translate this. From the deep slumber has my dear one woken up, and India is waking up after eons where she is daring to decolonize herself from its traditional role of being a servile follower and copycat to becoming the leader and the trendsetter. Undoubtedly, there are challenges galore, but we also know that challenges also bring out the best in human beings and especially in us Indians. A case in point being the comeback of India in post-pandemic era where many problems and curses of pandemic have been transformed into occasions and blessings such as complete digitalization to grassroots level module that G20 countries have so much admired and shown willingness to adopt. The world, my dear friends, will never be the same again and nor will be India. The grand juggernaut of India is moving on. It is high time we as social scientists dwelt on in details on the pros and cons, the concerns and correctives prerequisited and required to set out and carry on in this journey. It is in this above context that the theme of our seminar becomes highly relevant and a discussion thereof most needed. As the important sub-themes also suggest, our seminar will have detailed deliberations on political, social, economic, psychological, emotional, biopsychosocial and ecological aspects related to this transformation, including in its spread a wide gamut of past heritage, challenging present and hopeful positive future. The seminar seems to be a potential significant platform for very meaningful discussions and conclusions. So, time for some serious brainstorming, my dear friends. Years ago, our distinctive scientist Abdul Kalam had raised a very pertinent question. Why are we as a nation so obsessed with foreign things? We want foreign TVs, we want foreign shirts, we want foreign technology. Why this obsession with everything imported? Do we not realize that self-respect comes with self-reliance? Let's rise to the occasion now and join our brains and hearts to facilitate India's grand dream of Atmanirbhar Bharat becoming a reality with a humanitarian and egalitarian core of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, one earth, one family and one future, where Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramayah. The mind is without fear and the head is held high, with welfare of all in its heart. Iti Shubha.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for elaborating upon the theme so clearly. We have compiled all the abstracts of the papers which are going to be presented in the days to come. The abstract book is a testimony to the richness, diversity and depth of ideas which the authors are seeking to elaborate. Now, I would like to request all the dignitaries kindly release the abstract book. Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to request Professor Deepti Huda, convener of the seminar, to introduce our today's chief guest, Captain Alok Bansal.
Good morning, everyone. My sincere regards and greetings to the dignitaries on the dais and to everyone present here. It is my proud privilege to introduce our chief guest, Captain Alok Bansal, to the august audience. Captain Alok Bansal served the Indian Navy for 32 years. He participated in the prestigious Operation Pavan in Sri Lanka, where he commanded warships. His meritorious services were commended by Chief of Naval Staff. At present, he is Director of prestigious Indian Foundation. He is Secretary General of Asian Eurasian Human Rights Forum, an organization accorded by Economic and Social Council status by UNESCO. He is a member of the Planning Board of Union Territory of Ladakh. He is also been associated with National Maritime Foundation, Jammu Kashmir Study Center, Institute for Defense Studies and Analysis, and several other important organizations. Mr. Alok Bansal ji did his MSc and MPhil degree in Defense and Strategic Studies from University of Madras and doctorate degree in International Relations from JNU. He has been the executive editor of Maritime Affairs and Routledge Journal. He has also written several articles and books on defense and strategic studies, maritime studies, and on South Asian geopolitical scenario. By now, Most of us must have recognized him as he appears regularly at various radio and television talk shows. So it's a matter of great pride that Captain Alok Bansalji, with his profound knowledge and field expertise in international relations, is with us as chief guest today. Heartiest welcome, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Now, it's an honor for me to invite our today's chief guest, Captain Alok Bansal sir, for the inaugural address.
Professor Ch.Ranbir Singh, Vice Chancellor, Maharshi Dhyanand University, Rohtak. Professor Navratan Sharma, Dean Academic Affairs. Professor Deshraj, Professor Indrajit, Professor Anjali, Professor Deepti, worthy participants of this international seminar, students, faculties. It's indeed a privilege for me to come to this great institution, Maharshi Dhyanand University, Rohtak. I was very keen to come here because this university is named after a luminary whose immense contribution to the making of modern India is often unrecognized, is not recognized adequately. I think I have been looking forward to coming to this, and consequently, when somebody told me that you have to come for a seminar here, I said yes, because I keep traveling across the globe. I thought it must be a seminar on international affairs or something to do with security, defense, or issues that I generally speak on. When I got the subject of the seminar, I felt as if I was like an Alice in Wonderland. So I read Psycho-Social Economic Change, Agencies and Pathways to Atmanirbhar Bharat. Now the first observation that you get from the topic is that yes, somebody from the Department of Psychology is involved in it. That's the first input that you get, because otherwise you wouldn't have a psycho-social economic change, agencies and pathways to Atmanirbhar Bharat. Well, having gone through the subject matter, then I asked somebody, what should I speak or how should I speak? They said you should speak in both the languages, Hindi and English. I said, okay, I am not Atmanirbhar, but I'll try and be Atmanirbhar as far as possible. But I don't know. All my predecessors have spoken only in English, so I really don't know whether I should speak in both or only in one. And I have always felt that if there was a university, if there is an institution that is actually ideally suitable to speak on this subject, this is this university. And why? I'll come to it during my presentation. Atmanirbhar, or self-reliance. That's how we would translate it in English, and I think since we have international audience, I think I will now stick to only English. I thought I would switch between Hindi and English, but I think since we have people who may not understand Hindi, I think I would rightly continue articulating my thoughts in English. See, Indian society was historically Atmanirbhar. We had a system where even at the smallest unit of our society, people were interdependent, but it was a self-sufficient. In fact, if you go into the accounts that historians and visitors have written, that an Indian village was more or less a self-sufficient. You had artisans who would do the thing, there were farmers, there were traders, everything was by and large. I'm not trying to say there were insular societies, but they were by and large Atmanirbhar. And it was this Atmanirbharta where there was a division of labor, there were different trades, there were different expertise, that from the time the recorded history is available, till about 17th century, India was amongst the largest economies of the world. We were either the largest economy or the second largest economy. Till 1700 AD, we were contributing to almost 25% of the global GDP. Very often people don't recognize this, and this I am not saying because I am an Indian and standing here before you. This is what globally acknowledged academics have accepted. So we had a system of Atmanirbharta, and till 17th century, we had 25% of the global GDP. But consequently, of course, what happened, you know, we went under the colonial rule, and India's share in the global income went down from 27% in 1820 to 3% in 1950. Now that brings me to another very, very important lesson. The first step of Atmanirbharta, or self-reliance as they call it, is what? Self-governance. Are you reliant enough to govern yourself? If you are not capable of governing yourself, then other facets come later. And we have seen, under the colonial rule, this so-called self-reliance or our capabilities was gradually destroyed. As we were brought down from 27% to 3%. And I think the freedom fighters of this country actually realized that you have to actually grow. And that's why Swaraj was the first article. When we talk of Swaraj, in modern Indian context, the first person to use the term Swaraj was Maharshi Dyayanand. And that's why I said, if there is a university, there is an institution that has to talk about self-reliance, that has to talk about Atmanirbharta, I think it has to be Maharshi Dyayanand University. Even before Lokmanya Tilak started using Swaraj, Maharshi Dyayanand actually articulated Swaraj. So that's where it is very, very important. And I think that's one of the reasons why Gandhiji also, during the independence struggle, talked of Swadeshi. Talked of Swadeshi. Somebody, Professor Anjali said that we have an obsession with foreign. I think we need to shun that. I think so, and that's why Swadeshi was brought in. Of course, there is a slight difference between Atmanirbhar Bharat and Swadeshi movement, which Mahatma had given a call during independence, and I'll come to it. But post-independence, now we are in Amrit Mahotsav, we are celebrating the Amrit Mahotsav. And as I said, from 17th century, from 27% we came down to 3%. And now in 75 years, we've gone from 3% to 3.4% nominally. But of course, in purchasing power parity, we are between 7 to 8%, about 7.75%. And I think that's why this Atmanirbhar Bharat movement is important. Prime Minister Modi, ever since he came to power, has actually focused on it. He may have talked about Atmanirbhar Bharat only in 2020, but he started talking about self-reliance from 2014 itself. I don't know how many of you have realized, in June 2014, he talked about self-reliance in defense. If you remember, June 2014, he talked of self-reliance in defense. Why defense? Because defense is also a primary requirement of human beings. Anjali said, shun war, go for peace. Yes, we must shun war, we must go for peace. Undoubtedly, we should go for peace. But please understand, bread, shelter and clothing, roti, kapda or makan, insan ki प्राथमिक जरूरतें हैं. They are the basic needs of human beings. एक आदि मानव or the primitive man, basic requirement was to find food for himself. But even more important for him than finding food was that he himself does not become a food of somebody else. Because if you are not somebody else's अगर आप किसी और का आहार नहीं बन जाए, उसके बाद ही आप आहार ढूंढ सकते हैं। तो सुरक्षा एक प्राथमिक आवश्यकता रही है। सिक्योरिटी हैज बीन अ प्राइमरी रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ ह्यूमन बीइंग्स, एंड अनफॉर्चुनेटली इट वाज इन दिस फील्ड दैट वी हैड withered away, we had actually gone down considerably. Of course, consequently, Prime Minister talked about Digital India in August 2014. In September 2014, he talked about making poor self-reliant, because obviously 75 years of this government independence, there was a tendency that people wanted jobs rather than becoming self-reliant and creating jobs. And I think that's where I think there was a requirement. The people needed to start enterprises so that they not only employ themselves but also provide employment to others. Because government or any agency cannot be the sole provider of employment to the vast teeming millions of population. Then of course, March 2022, he also talked of technology. Now one question that comes to mind and is very often talked of, why do we need to be Atmanirbhar? It's a globalized world. Somebody is making something, you are getting something, you can make it economically. Why do we have to be Atmanirbhar? Why do we have to be self-reliant? And I think we need to look at it. Because when a country is not self-reliant, you're dependent on others. When you're dependent on others, you're often pressurized to do what others want. And in independent India, there were numerous times when, because of this particular fact that we were not self-reliant, we were forced to do what others wanted us to do. Please remember, for early 3.5 decades, we were not even self-sufficient in feeding ourselves. We had to import food. I'm sure those of you of my generation would remember PL 480 and things like that. Then food grains came from across the Atlantic to actually feed us. We didn't have enough to feed ourselves. And consequently, you all are well versed with India's history that in 47, 48, 49, Pakistan occupied a large chunk of our territory in Jammu and Kashmir. But it is only recently that we have started talking about these occupied territories. In fact, in 60s, 70s, 80s, we never talked of it. Even after the Bangladesh war, when we won a decisive war, we did not want these territories back. Why was that? It was because we were not self-reliant. We were under pressure. We had immense international pressure. Lot of people, when I go, tell in 65 we won this particular area. There is an important pass in Jammu and Kashmir called Haji Pir Pass, which Indian Army captured in 1965. Very often my army colleagues or my army officers say, why did we return 65 Haji Pir Pass? Not realizing that in 1965 we did not have enough to eat. We were surviving on PL 480. The only country and the only bloc that was supporting us in the international arena was the Soviet bloc, Warsaw Pact countries. And so when Soviet Union arbitrated, we were in no position to say no. They said you have to go back where you were, and we went back. These are the problems of not being self-reliant. If you are dependent on somebody else for your basic necessities, can you go against the interest of that individual? Not to my mind. Not me. And that's what we have been seeing time and again, time and again. And that's why India could not attain its rightful share of the community of nations. I think now, in last 7-8 years, you have seen India emerge in the global scenario as a power and its own reckoning. And that's because we have now started focusing on this important dimension. Of course, as I said, why self-reliance and defense? Because defense is a very, very important thing. You can't outsource your security. You've seen what happened in Kabul, you have seen what happened in Ukraine. A country has to defend its sovereignty, its defense yourself. So that's why Prime Minister Modi started with his first focus on self-reliance on defense. And one of the reasons was because we had the dubious distinction of being the largest importer of defense equipment. Now, when you are importing such a large quantity of defense equipment, you could leverage them to ask foreign companies or others to come and set up shop in India. Because those companies were, by virtue of the fact that India was importing such a large quantity of defense hardware, set up shop and be assured of certain amount of order, because there was an economy of scale. And that's been going on. In fact, as you know, over 20 lakh crores have been invested in Atmanirbhar Bharat. And there are results for all of us to see. In fact, in Defense Expo 2022, there were 451 memorandums of understanding that were signed for 1,53,000 crores. Not a small amount. I know, MOUs and execution, there's a vast difference. Even if 10% of that gets executed, it's a big thing. So, according to me, the main aim of Atmanirbhar Bharat is to create a new Indian market model that is primarily sustained via growth of microeconomics in districts and small towns. So it is not something that you have only one big cities which are actually become your production hub, but this production, this micro enterprises are dispersed across the length and breadth of the country. And the aim is that the global wealth is no longer remains confined to a certain section of the population, and it aims at empowering every citizen of this particular country. And of course, how is it different from Swadeshi as people talk of? See, Swadeshi was aimed at boycotting foreign goods. We no longer say boycott anything. We are not saying that we will boycott imports. We become reliant not only for ourselves, we will actually be providing it to others. So now, we are not saying that we will not take anything, but we should be able to, we should have enough to sustain ourselves comfortably and produce even more to provide it to others. So, we have a three-front national development strategy. The first front is Make in India, then Made in India. When the world sees what is made in India and actually starts admiring it, and then of course, third front is Startup India, where we actually are already creating enterprises which are starting and doing things which we need to do. And I think towards this, of late, what Prime Minister has actually highlighted is technological development. Because of late what we have seen is technologies are not being provided. Very many technologies are available, and I think for some strange reasons, despite having the largest technical manpower pool in the world, we could not provide environment which was suitable enough for people to harness technology. And I think that is where we are talking about technology sovereignty. So as I said, Atmanirbhar Bharat is like Swadeshi, a program that is against the unrestricted import of the Western thinking and the economic models, but is not averse to technology. We are willing to accept technology from outside, we are willing to accept investment from outside, and it stands for modernization, but not unbridled westernization. So modernization, but not unbridled westernization. And that's where I think Prime Minister gave a call, vocal for local. Try and promote local industry if you can, without in any way getting away from your international obligations under WTO, etc. We are not restricting any imports, but it is your preference. Your preference nobody can control, but you can't officially be restricting imports which would be violating of many of the trading norms or things like that. Indian entrepreneurship needs to be freed from the shackles by adopting suitable governance model and reform measures. And this is here the agencies and pathways to Atmanirbhar Bharat come into play. The bureaucracies by nature are obstructive. A bureaucrat is taught to be obstructive. They are not facilitators, they are obstructors. And that's one of the reasons by 75 years down the line, we just got gradually from 3% to 7.8% or 7.8%. For a country that used to contribute quarter of the global GDP. So we have to have new institutions and pathways, and those institutions and pathways have to be academic institutions, non-governmental organizations, the private sector. It can't be government. Government can only be the facilitator. Government cannot run and take India forward on the path of Atmanirbhar path. This cannot be a bureaucratic controlled, bureaucratic driven initiative. This has to be an initiative by you, me and everyone. And that is where it is very, very important. And to transform this, we need to be very, very careful. We need to understand that it requires a social and economic model, but more importantly, it requires a psychological makeup. You need to have a psychological makeup that yes, we can, we should, and we would do that. And that's what is important. So, to my mind, a time has come where Atmanirbhar Bharat, we need to strive to emerge. We have become the 5th largest global GDP. In few years from now, we should be 3rd largest global GDP. We are today, primarily our GDP is driven by services. We need to emerge as a manufacturing hub. Just to give you an idea, I think in 18th century, 50% of India's population was only dependent on agriculture. By the time the Britishers left in 1947, 88% of India's population was dependent on agriculture. Krishi Pradhan Desh hai. It's an agriculture economy, but that doesn't mean that majority of your population should be dependent on agriculture, because that leads to fragmentation of land holdings, and that actually reduces your agriculture. More and more population moves away from agriculture, you can implement better agricultural practices and do that. So that is where importance is. I think we have to become a manufacturing hub. We are a services economy, which is a good thing. That shows our technical prowess, our educational capacities and all those things. But we have to emerge as a manufacturing hub. And I think this clarion call by the Prime Minister as far as Atmanirbhar Bharat is, I think a wonderful thing. This would ensure that India moves on the path of becoming a developed economy. And I think this seminar here, I think is a wonderful opportunity at the right time, at right venue to promote Prime Minister's call for Atmanirbhar Bharat. Before I end, I just like to advise, because this is under Social Science Department, and this is to students primarily. And whenever I go to a university, I always tell students, by and large, unlike the pure sciences, in social sciences, you don't have an absolute answer or a perfect solution. What I say, what anybody else says, is his or her solution based on his or her logic. As a student, you must strive to find your own solution based on your logic. And that's very, very important. Don't accept anybody's words as gospel truth. What I am saying is my viewpoint. You need to evolve your viewpoint. You find my viewpoint correct, if my logic is sound, if my reasoning is sound, it's well and good. If you find it's not sound, come out with your alternative. Question is the Maharshi Dayanand said, हर बात को तर्क की कसौटी पर कसना चाहिए. Everything needs to be assessed on the basis of logic, and that's the key. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for such an enlightening inaugural address to explain the concept of Atmanirbhar Bharat in a very well-defined manner. Thank you, sir. Now, it's an honor for for me to invite our worthy Vice Chancellor, Sir Professor Ch.Ranbir Singh, for presidential address.
Captain Alok Bansal, the chief guest of this international seminar, Professor Navratna Sharma, our Dean Academic Affairs, Professor Desras, head of the Department of Sociology Department, Professor Indrajit, Professor Vandana Sharma, Dr. Balan, faculty members, and dear participants, delegates. Very exciting and directional delivery by Captain Alok Bansal. From the mouth of a true captain. I just don't want to dilute the wonderful delivery by Captain Alok Bansal. But I do admit and I compliment the effort of Professor Navratna Sharma. कई बार क्या होता है कि वेटरन जो प्लेयर होता है वो लास्ट लेग पे भी यानी अपने when he declared that I am going to retire from the active play field, तो वो एक चौका या छक्का जरूर लगाता है. I completely agree that historically and traditionally Indian society was self-sufficient. Our village economy was self-sufficient economy. The concept of Gram Swaraj was there. And he was right that Maharishi Saraswati was the person who gave the concept of Swaraj. Much before Lokmanya Tilak. And now India has again come to a level where one looks at India with a hope, with pride, and a problem solver. Looks at India as a destination where aspirations are met. If you remember the 5 pledges of the Prime Minister on 15th of August 2020, the 5 pledges having a developed India, removing any sign of servility, दास्ता और चापलूसी की कोई जगह नहीं होनी चाहिए. Pride in. So in the same context, this international seminar was visualized. That how different agencies can find pathways for inclusive society, for a psychologically balanced society and ecological sustainable development. Captain Alok has also rightly pointed out that it is not for the government. The government can there be as a facilitator. It is for we as education institutions, the society at large, the individual, or the groups, or the private sector, NGOs, we all should come on a platform where we can find ways and means for a inclusive growth, for a developing a sustainable model of growth. And I am reminded here that university community, remembering the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, and his entire valuable words, be the change you wish to see. Let's work together to usher in positive, creative, innovative world where there is peace and prosperity. So very interestingly, any kind of a growth or any kind of a development, if that growth or development is not bringing happiness, that doesn't carry any meaning. That's why the happiness as an index of development is considered by so many nations, so the India. And let me again compliment the psychology department and more specifically our Dean Academic Affairs Professor Navratan Sharma, that very recently on 9th of January, 7th of January, thank you Dr. Samjeet for correcting me, she's always there, as always. He proposed a lab, Happitude Lab. Initially I thought, can there be a lab where happiness can be created? So he took us to 4 workstations and I was pretty convinced that yes. So the psycho-social economic change, agencies and pathways, I'm sure the research papers with different approaches, the 3 days deliberations, discussions will take it further and you will suggest ways and means that how those kind of changes which can bring happiness on the face of the common man. So how those solutions can be given to the platform of education institutions, and that's the real purpose of any education institution. I again thank Captain Alok Bansal for accepting our invitation at a very short notice. It rarely happens. I know how busy he is. And very candidly, yesterday he admitted that I was thinking long back that I should visit MDU. So I got the invitation. So it was his humbleness that he accepted this thing in such a humble way. So I, on behalf of my university, welcome him and thank him for accepting our invitation, and I again compliment Dr. Navratan Sharma and his entire team for conceiving this beautiful and a thought-provoking subject for the seminar. And I welcome all the national or international delegates for this deliberation, and thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your words of wisdom that really motivate us. Now, I would like to request our worthy Vice Chancellor, Sir, Professor Ch.Ranbir Singh, to present a memento to our Honorable Chief Guest, Captain Alok Bansal, as a token of respect. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to request Dean Academic Affairs, Professor Navratan Sharma, to present a memento to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir Professor Ch.Ranbir Singh, as our expression of gratitude. Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to request convener of this international seminar, Professor Desraj, please come to the dais and propose vote of thanks.
On behalf of this university and especially Ch.Ranbir Singh Institute of Social and Economic Change, I extend my thanks, and I am also very thankful to Dr. Sanjit Kaur, Mrs. Vice Chancellor, for sparing her time. I am also thankful to Dr. Navratan Sharma, our team leader, Dean Academic Affairs, Dean Student Welfare, Dr. Rajkumar, my fellow colleagues of all department of this university. I am very thankful to the all scholars who granted their support for successful events we are a part of. I am very thankful to the other sports staff of our Institute of Economic Change, Ch.Ranbir Singh Institute of Social and Economic Change, Mr. Ram Kumar, Mr. Satish Kumar, who are working in the background for making this seminar a success. I am also thankful to the media people who are news about the seminar. I would be failing my duty if I do not mention the organizing committee of the seminar, Professor Inderjit, Director Institute, Professor Anjali Malik, Professor Dipti Huda, Dr. Rajesh Kumar, and Dr. Sasi Rasmi for their hard works and to make the seminar possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now, all the dignitaries and delegates are invited for high tea, and I would like to request all the delegates to assemble here at 12:15 sharp for another session.